You know, the
Mhm.
problem with our world today is that our eyes are deceiving us because we're going off of pure emotion of what we think.
Am I starting? Are you starting?
Yeah, you're starting because I don't know what the fuck to do. Okay, everyone, welcome to the
Uh,
show. We've got Jeff and me, and we're going to be talking about social media and the trends that we're noticing out there in the world. The very first one that is in your face and it's controversial, like everything nowadays, is the Olympics. I mean, I never thought
Not
the
supposed to
Olympics
be.
was
It's not
over.
supposed to be
Yeah, I
controversial.
was going to say it's not supposed to be, but Jeff, from watching the amazing opening ceremony, did you think it was sacrilegious?
I I don't understand the lens by how people look at things. And I maybe this is an oversimplification of this, but and this obviously this has come about. This conversation is here because of social media. But
Hmm.
like cup half full, cup half empty. Like we have two choices in life and pretty much everything that we do. And you have a choice. You can look at things from a cup half full, you can look at things from a cup half empty. And I just feel like this whole religious undertone, Christianity religious undertone, which is becoming an overtone, is exactly. I shared, we're going to talk about a post that I shared with you this morning.
Hmm.
I really am being massively turned off. It's almost like Tristan, I hate to say it, but it's almost a little radical. The,
It does
their
feel that
the,
way, man.
the people's thoughts, and you and I have a lot of friends that are barking on social about this, and oh, we're not going to
Yeah.
watch the Olympics, and it's like, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you gaining from this? What are you actually trying to? What are you pulling from this? But let's talk about what we're talking about for those that are living under a rock.
Yeah. So for those of you that missed it and are wondering what's happening all over social media, we have the opening ceremony. There's a specific set of scenes in the Olympics where a lot of people attributed a scene with the LGBTQ plus community lining up like if it was the Last Supper, and then there was also a music scene with a lot of a lot of people just being scantily clad and loud, and then there was a whole other scene with Marie Antoinette holding her head, right? It was cut off, and there was a lot of those what they would call outlandish scenes, but the main one that drove
Theater,
everything,
theater, right?
yeah, it was just it was theater. And I think the one that was really tough for people to swallow because of what we normally do out in the world is the one where we thought it was Jesus and his 12 disciples in the Last Supper. The first assumption was, well, what the hell is this? How, why, and how would they bring religion, specifically Christianity, into this? And that's where your post that you sent to me by Devin Croner comes in, Jeff.
Yeah.
So Jeff sent me this amazing post. He says, there's this thing. He says Olympics aren't a religious event; they're a worldwide competition rooted in ancient Greek culture, which is full of mythology, debauchery, artistic expression, and lots of drinking. I was like, yep, good point. Good point. And the fact that a lot of people thought that that was the Last Supper was a complete mistake because it was in reference to something else in Greek mythology. And then when they popped up and brought up that I think it was some type of a blue god, I don't remember, uh, but it wasn't anything to do with Christianity. And you know, the first thing I thought of, because I thought, oh, yeah, this looks familiar and it's not the Last Supper. I thought of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, Star Wars. I thought Obi-Wan Kenobi, the time where he talked to Luke, and you remember this. You remember when they're in the Millennium Falcon and he's trying to block with his lightsaber. He's learning, brand new, right? And he tells him, Luke, your eyes can deceive you. So he closes his eyes with his helmet, and then he says, Just use your intuition, use the force. The point is, he says, your eyes can deceive you. You know, the
Mhm.
problem with our world today is that our eyes are deceiving us because we're going off of pure emotion of what we think. It's a perfect example, dude. This is not the Last Supper. And then we sit on social saying, I'm banning the Olympics. I'm I'm no longer going to be a follower of the Olympics. It's like, can we take a step back and think about where this all came from in the first place and how you view the world through a set of eyes that are very biased, and your view isn't the right view or the only view.
Echo
This is why I
chamber,
love Jeff,
echo
because
chamber, echo
dude,
chamber.
echo chambers, exactly, exactly. And this is why I love Jeff, because Jeff and I, we quickly realized that with our religious and political views, we are like down the line. It's funny how we agree on a lot without talking about it. And it's like we're just looking to do what's best for people and to be as inclusive as possible without spreading hate, and with doing with what most people would call logical, right? And
Yep.
so, Jeff, with that, um, with social media just spreading so much hate, how do we turn around and put a lot more love and emphasis on what it's supposed to be about?
Yeah. Well, and as it relates to social too, the thing I'm thinking about as we're talking, the people that will probably listen to this are the people that probably fall into a mid-range camp like us. Same thing. Like, I didn't see it. I think that's a little over the top. Come on, people. Like that kind of attitude, right? The people
Mhm.
that are the diehards probably shut us off if they even gave it a chance, if they were even listeners in the first place. So I think the opportunity here is that how do you play with this? And I'm literally thinking about it as we're talking about it. And by the way, I love these topics because we're really getting into the trending stuff, how it relates to social, not really going super deep on social strategy, but there is a relevance here. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, what am I going to do with this? Because you know me, like one of the things I stand on the pulpit and preach is that it's social
Mhm.
media. It's not business media, right? We got to stop spamming the
Mhm.
world. I feel like this is my opportunity to say it's social media. It's not religion media. Listen, you can believe what you want to believe, share what you want to share, but and Devin's point, like what he even said here, let me get to it, because he talks about how you can't expect ungodly people to act godly, but you should expect godly
Mm.
people to act godly. In the past 24 to 36 hours, there hasn't been a ton of that seen.
Mhm.
He goes on to say, because he talks about Jesus told us to be in the world, not of the world. He told us to go into the highways
Yep.
and byways and compel them to come. He invited the prostitute, the Samaritan, the rich, the greedy, the liar, the confused, the crazy, and even the profane to taste and see. Right. And so it's like, I get his
Mhm.
point. So these people are rushing to social to condemn what they saw and what Devin is suggesting. And I believe he's right, because I do have a religious upbringing. I went to Lutheran schools. I have pastors in my family. I was forced to study this stuff. I can't say I loved it, but I did. And Devin's right. Like, it's not about chastising those who don't agree with you or do it differently. It's about bringing them in
Mhm.
and loving them and not judging them. And he even says that.
Mhm.
He says, he asks, and he's talking about Jesus. He asks us to do likewise. You don't have to participate in immorality to influence those in it, as Jesus showed us repeatedly with how he ate with sinners and rubbed shoulders with the unclean. But to
Mhm.
influence them, you do have to be around them. Think about that. To influence anybody, this is important. You have to
Mm.
be around them, listen to them, and most importantly, Tristan, leave your judgment to yourself. That right there is what all of these people that we're talking about are not doing a good job of. They're standing
Yeah.
on the pulpit of social media and passing judgment. And that's not really what you learn through the Bible, through Jesus' teachings.
It's
So
true. I
I
mean,
guess bringing it back, I'm thinking to myself, how do I how do I create, how do I kind of jump into the water here? Because I always like to jump into the water.
Yeah,
I like to jump in the water
you're
and stir the
social.
pot. I don't want to stir this pot. Religion to me it's not politics. I respect religion. I respect people's beliefs. But I think, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is getting a little over the top. And you and you and I know who I'm talking about when I say this, but going back to COVID and how it changed people, and
Mm-hmm.
it was almost, to me, a turnoff. And there's a certain individual that you know exactly who I'm talking about, and there's been others. There's been a bunch, and sometimes I just feel like it's like I don't think this was how Jesus or Christianity intended it. It's almost like people are trying to now force their belief. It's almost like they're selling us, and that's not the way it's
Mm.
supposed to be.
Instead of attracting us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, just go back to the basics of social media. Stop putting your shit on us and let us decide if we're going to be attracted to you based on what you're doing. But the problem is with what you're saying, any religion, but specifically today, Christianity, you're preaching one thing and doing the other thing, right? And this is why it's absurd when I see this. It's like these proclaimed Christians are saying, "Oh, oh my gosh, this and this and this," and then they're doing the exact same thing or worse, man. And
yeah,
that's the problem with this.
yeah,
It's hypocrisy.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so,
Yeah,
no, I just think you're right on. And if we apply it to social media, where it's like, what's the opportunity here? I think Devin hit it right on. Is that his name, Devin?
yeah, Devin. He's
Dude, he used it
he's a real estate
perfectly.
agent, but also a pastor.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
He wrote it so well. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. But that
yeah,
makes sense. It's like, let's take this opportunity now and use what I can use that's trending and put my twist into it. Right. And for me, I don't know that I'm going to, just like you, I don't know that I'm going to touch that because I couldn't figure out how to go in between and use it with the time I had. But I'll tell you, there are some really good opportunities from watching the Olympics. I know it just started, but from watching the Olympics, that you can grab some lessons and then give them out to whoever you want to give them out to, whether it's funny or encouraging or inspiring. I'll tell you one really quick, Jeff. There's so speed. Remember, wait, hold on. Didn't you 4 years ago or something make fun of some Olympic sport or some sport, and then it came
Uh,
back to you, but you blew up? What was it? It was something. It was hilarious. You were making fun of them, and then
which one? What was it?
they
Which was it?
called you out
Winter?
on it.
Oh, that's right.
It
That
must have
wasn't.
been winter.
Yeah, no, that was an ESPN. That was on like ESPN Ocho, where they play those really random sports.
Yeah, the ones
Yeah,
that
and
suck.
people reached out to me, and I ended up interviewing some. It was that was the one, the parkour. It
Was
was
it
parkour. It
parkour?
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't an
No
Olympic
way.
sport.
Parkour is
Yeah,
cool. You were making
it
fun of
is.
parkour?
I don't remember the context and how I made fun of it. I think I was just like, oh my God, this is what ESPN has resorted to, or something like that. And
Got
yes,
it.
they did jump on me for that. And I think it turned out really good because I actually ended up making a
Turned out
relationship
great.
with somebody and learning about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
turned out
That's
great. But you got
it
hundreds
was
of
some
thousands of views.
or it might have been
And
tag. It might have been tag,
I think you're right. It was tag. It was tag. That's what it was. It was parkour
which is
tag. It was
carpour-ish. Yeah, it's
parkour
parkour-ish.
tag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those guys are insane
So
athletes.
on that note, I was watching speed walking.
That's not stop it. That's not an Olympic sport.
It's terrible. It is. It is.
No,
But
stop. Yeah,
it gets
no, it's
great.
not.
It gets great.
You're
So
lying.
no. Check this out. You can Google it and watch it on TikTok. Put it up, speed walking, and then Spaniard. Type in Spaniard. So the first two come in, gold and silver, right? And then you see the Spaniard lady, female speed walking. She's towards the front. She's going to get bronze. She's really happy about it. Has her flag ready to go. Reaches out for her flag, like literally 5 steps away from speed walking. And then she stops speed walking at the same rate, and somebody from the side goes, speed walks right through her.
And
And
gets the
she
bronze?
starts, yeah, she lost the bronze because she started celebrating too early in the
Holy
Olympics.
shit. I gotta look this up.
You got to look it up. So shit like that. I'm like, you know what? We could put so much out there, so much funny content, but more like just a reminder, don't let go of the gas when you're about to cross the
Yeah,
finish line,
yeah. I
right?
think that's the truth.
Consistency all throughout. Anyway,
Wow.
that's
Yeah,
when you
well,
find
and
it.
I guess you bring up a good point. Like there's so many different ways. We've been posting interesting statistics, top 10 states Olympics come from. And I know BAM just did something today, which I thought was interesting. Same concept. We did another one last week, and we're gonna do another one we'll probably do one a week while the Olympics go on, just random statistics. But
How
I
long are
like
the
that.
Olympics?
Uh 3 weeks, 16 days,
Oh,
something
it's
like
not
that.
bad.
Yeah.
So there's
It'll be
plenty.
it'll be over before you know it. But yeah, I think we talked about this on last week's episode, and hopefully this comes out while the Olympics are still going on. Obviously, I think it will.
Mhm.
CK, make sure that happens. But yeah, I think it's important to jump on that trend, whether it be the opening ceremonies, and talk about this. I encourage you. In fact, if you're listening to this and you want to see the post we're talking about, Devin Croner, Devin, and Croner is Kroner. As long as you're not going to his post to chastise him, although I think he can handle it, I encourage you to go grab it. I'm actually going to grab it and do something with it because, again, it was so
Mhm.
profound. But I like your point there, Tristan. It's almost like go into a sport and yeah, I hate to say it. I mean, I guess poke fun in
Yeah, why not?
fun, because you could get disparaged for it, but so
Yeah.
be prepared for that. But yeah, I mean, I guess everybody knows me. They know I'm not afraid to
Well,
poke the bear and take
let's
take
talk
the
about
heat.
this in a community setting too, because you and I are well, you're further along on the community side than I am, but I'm looking at surfing. Like I told you at the beginning, I'm like, I can't wait to watch the surfing because I can grab the clip and then show the types of waves we have in Malibu, which are not even close to Tahiti. Uh, and those waves in Tahiti are on another level around the world, considered like some of the best waves in the world.
You know
And
what that
so
reminds
comparing
you know what it
both.
reminds me of? Point
Mm.
Break. Remember the movie Point Break?
Oh yeah, that's very
And
true.
Bodie like wanted to go out because he was going to get arrested, and he's like, "I'm going to go
Yep,
do this wave." They're like, "You're never going to survive," and he's like, "That's the way I want to go."
great movie.
Yeah.
I love
Yep.
that movie. Good movie. Good movie. All right, catch the
Keanu Reeves,
trends.
man. Keanu Reeves.
Don't be a jerk out there. Don't put your
Well,
biases out
I
there.
mean, to each their own. To each their own. I think this was an interesting conversation today because you and I would not consider ourselves religious experts of any sort. But
Not at all.
we're both, I believe, I'm not even sure. I don't even know where you stand. I'm Lutheran. Now, what are you? You're
Christian.
Catholic? Okay, not kind of
Christian.
non-denominational. Were you
Yeah.
raised Catholic?
I was raised Jewish
Re-
Christian.
What?
Uh, yeah, it was weird. So
Where's the Jewish come from in your
my
Mexican roots?
dad's my dad, so Sephardic Jew, Spanish Jew, right? So my dad's Spanish, Jewish, but usually the Jewish line goes through the woman, right? So my mom is Catholic, so came through, and then they both decided that they were going to be Christian, so we became
Yeah.
Christian.
I feel like
So
non-denominational is more the norm
yep,
nowadays anyway.
there you go.
Good stuff, man.
That's
This is interesting. There's opportunity here. Obviously, if you don't like hate on social, then teeter the line. Be careful. If you're not afraid of it, I think there's some opportunity here. I think you should really think through how you, like I'm going to do. I'm going to think through how I position this and how I say what I
yeah.
say. But I
But
do believe,
regardless, man, I think people need to freaking do some research before they put their shit out there. Like the fact that people
yeah,
thought that was the Last Supper, I found it. It's a depiction of the ancient Greek bacchanal or bacchanal. I don't know how to pronounce it
will you
because
send that to me?
the Olympics are Greek. Yeah, I'll send that over to you.
Yes,
So it's
please
not the
send it to
Last
me.
Supper, guys.
I think I'd
Oh,
like to end it with one more thing he said, which he says, and this is not a religious statement, but I think it's important to understand that the comment is Jesus is the main thing, and we should point to him. And making up things to be outraged about or picking arguments with the world when they are one, not actually insulting you, and two, acting exactly as they're expected to act without the hope of Christ in their hearts doesn't help draw people. It pushes them away. And Yeah, this is it was profound, man. That's
I liked it. Well, it gives you the perspective you need, right, to approach the world that we're living in.
yeah.
You can't be offended by everything you see.
Yeah.
You already know your values and principles. Stick by them.
I'm gonna
I love
I'm
it.
gonna keep
Jeff,
watching the Olympics, Tristan. I
me
love the
too.
Olympics. It only happens every 4 years. It's about sport. I will say this. My wife did say she did not like the opening ceremonies because she thought it was too they made too much of an emphasis on Hollywood and actors and actresses and famous people. And she's like, this is about the
Mhm.
athletes. It's not about, she's like, show more Carl Lewis. Don't show Tom Cruise. Show more Jackie Joyner Kersee. Don't show Elon Musk, because that's what they were doing. And I
Mm.
got her point.
Yeah.
Like,
Makes
but I
sense.
told her, I
Makes
said,
sense.
you got to understand that this is an evolution of our time and things are changing. And the Olympic opening ceremonies 20 years from now is probably going to look even more outlandish than this. So buckle up, Buttercup.
But dude, think about it. Did they get the job done? Is everyone talking about the Olympics now?
Good
Yes.
point.
The
Yeah.
answer
Yeah.
is yes. It's
Yeah.
trending. Jump on, talk about it. They got the point across.
Yes, they did.
Good
Yes,
hat.
they.
Good hat, by the way, Jeff. Good hat, by the way.
You know what? Marty Bird for president. Marty Bird for president. And if you don't know what that means, well, you don't deserve to know.
Look it up.
Look it up.
Netflix. Thanks, everybody.